Good morning. Welcome to theCUBE's coverage of KubeCon and CloudNativeCon 21 live from Los Angeles. Lisa Martin here with Dave Nicholson. Dave, it's great to be in person with other humans at this conference finally.
I can't believe it. You're arm's length away. It's unreal. This is fantastic.
I know, and they checked vax cards, so everybody's here is nice and safe. We're excited to welcome Kingdon Barrett to the program, Flux maintainer and open source support engineer at Weaveworks. Kingdon, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you for having me on today.
So let's talk about Flux. This is a CNCF incubating project I saw catalyzed as Adopt. Talk to us about Flux and its evolution.
So Flux is just got into its second version a while ago. We've been working on, we're an incubating project and we're going towards graduation at this point. Flux has seen a great deal of adoption from cloud infrastructure vendors in particular, like Microsoft and Amazon and VMware, all building products on Flux, the latest version of Flux. And we've heard from companies like Alibaba and State Farm. We had a conference at a co-hosted event earlier on Tuesday called GitOpsCon, where we presented all about GitOps, which is the technology guiding set of principles that underlies Flux. And there are new adopters every day, including the Department of Defense, who has 100,000 developers. It's a very successful project at this point.
And who are the key users of Flux, excuse me.
The key users of Flux are probably application developers and infrastructure engineers and platform support folks, so a pretty broad spectrum of people.
And you've got some news at the event?
Yeah, we actually we have a ecosystem event that's coming up on October 20th. It's a free virtual event. Folks can join us to hear from these companies. We have people from high-level CTOs and GMs from companies like Microsoft, Amazon, VMware, Weaveworks, D2iQ, that are going to be speaking about their products that you can buy from their cloud vendor that are based on Flux. So that's a milestone for us. That's a major milestone. These are large vendors, major cloud vendors that have decided that they trust Flux with their customers' workloads, and it's the way that they want to push GitOps.
Great validation.
Yeah.
So give us an example, just digging in a little bit on Flux and GitOps. What are some of the things that Flux either enforces or enables or validates? How would you describe the Flux GitOps relationship?
So the first of the GitOps principles is declarative infrastructure, and that's something that people who are using Kubernetes are already very familiar with. Flux has based itself, or I guess spawned, maybe is a better way to say it, this whole GitOps working group that's just defined the principles. There's 4 of them in the formal definition that's just been promoted to 1.0. And the GitOps working group published this at opengitops.dev, where you can read all 4, and it's a great copy site. If you're not really familiar with GitOps, you can read all 4, but the other second one I would mention is version storage. It's called GitOps, and Git is a version store. So it's good for disaster recovery, and if you have an issue with a new release, if you're pushing changes frequently, that's more than likely you will have issues from time to time. You can roll back with GitOps because everything is versioned, and you can do those releases rapidly because the deployment is automatic, and it's continuously reconciling. So those are the 4 principles of GitOps, and they're not exactly prescriptive. You don't have to adopt them all at once. You can pick and choose where you want to get started, but that's what is underneath Flux.
How do you help customers pick and choose based on, what are some of the key criteria that you would advise them on?
We would advise them to try to follow all of those principles, because that's what you get out of the box with Flux is a solution that does those things. But if there's one of those things that gets in the way, there's also the concept of a closed loop that is sometimes debated as whether it should be part of the GitOps principles or not. That just means that when you use GitOps, the only changes that go to your infrastructure are coming through GitOps. So you don't have someone coming in and using a backdoor. It all goes through Git. When you want to make a change to your cluster or your application, you push it to Git, the automation takes over from there, and makes developers and platform engineers' jobs a lot easier, and it makes it easier for them to collaborate with each other.
So workforce productivity, you mentioned AWS, Microsoft, VMware, all working with you to deliver GitOps to enterprise customers. Talk to me about some of the benefits in it for these big guys. I mean, that's great validation, but what's in it for AWS and VMware and Microsoft, for example, business outcome-wise?
Well, one of the things that we've been promoting since June is Flux has been, there's an API underneath that's called the GitOps Toolkit. This is, if you're building a platform for platforms like these cloud vendors are, we announced that Flux's APIs are officially stable, so that means that it's safe for them to build on top of, and they can go ahead and build things and not worry that we're going to pull the rug out from under them. So that's one of the major vendors, one of the major vendor benefits. And we've also added a recent improvement called server-side apply that will improve performance, reduce the number of API calls, but also for users, it makes things a lot easier because they don't have to write explicitly health checks on everything. It's possible for them to say, we would like to see everything is healthy, and it's a one-line addition, that's it.
So, you know, there's been a lot of discussion from a lot of different angles of the subject of security in this space. How does this dovetail with that? A lot of discussion specifically about software supply chain security. Now this is more in the operations space. How do those come together? Do you have any thoughts on security?
Well, Flux is built for security first. There are a lot of products out there that will shell out to other tools, and that's a potential vulnerability, and Flux does not do that. We've recently undergone a security audit, which we're waiting for the results and the report over, but this is part of our progress towards the CNCF graduated status, and we've liked what we've seen, preliminary results. We prepared for the security audit knowing that it was coming, and Flux is designed for security first. You are able to verify that the commits that you're applying to your cluster are signed and actually come from a valid author who is permitted to make changes to the cluster. And GitOps itself is this model of operations by pull request. So you have an opportunity to make sure that your changes are appropriately reviewed before they get applied.
Got it. So you had a session at KubeCon this week.
Yes, I
Talk
did.
to me a little bit about that. What were like the top 3 takeaways, and maybe even share with us some of the feedback that you got from the audience?
The session was about Jenkins and GitOps, or Jenkins and Flux, and the main idea is that when you use Flux, Flux is a tool for delivery. So you've heard maybe of CI/CD. CI and CD are separate in Flux. We consider these as 2 separate jobs that should not cross over. And when you do that, so the talk is about Jenkins and Flux. Jenkins is a very popular CI solution, and the message is you don't have to abandon, if you've made a large infrastructure investment in a CI solution, you don't have to abandon your Jenkins or your GitHub Actions or whatever other CI solution you're using to build and test images. You can take it with you and adopt GitOps.
So there's compatibility there and usability, familiarity for the audience,
Yeah.
the users.
Yeah.
What was some of the feedback that they provided to you? Were they surprised by that? Happy about that?
Well, and talk was a little bit fast-paced. I would put it in the advanced CI/CD track. I covered a lot of ground in that talk, and I hope to go back and cover things in a little bit smaller steps. I tried to show as many of the features of Flux as I could, and so one of the feedback that I got was actually it was a little bit difficult to follow. So I'm a new presenter. This is my first year at Weaveworks. I've never presented at KubeCon before. I'm really glad I got the opportunity to be here. This is a great opportunity to collaborate with other open source teams, and that's the takeaway for me.
Nice.
So you got to give a shout out to Weaveworks.
Absolutely.
You know, any organization that realizes the benefit of having its folks participate in the community realizing that it helps the community, it helps you, it helps them. You know, that's what we love about all of this.
Yep. We're really excited to grow adoption for Kubernetes and GitOps together.
So I've asked a few people this over the last couple of days. Where do you think we are in the peak Kubernetes curve? Are we still just at the very beginning stages of this as a movement?
Certainly, we're for people who are here at KubeCon. I think we see that a lot of companies are very successful with Kubernetes, but I've come from a university IT background, and I haven't seen a lot of adoption in large enterprise, more conservative enterprises, at least in my personal experience. And I think that there is a lot for those places to gain through adopting Kubernetes and GitOps together. I think GitOps will provide them with the opportunity to experience Kubernetes in the best way possible.
We've seen such acceleration in the last 18, 19 months of digital transformation for companies to survive, to pivot during COVID, to survive, now to thrive. Do you see that influencing the adoption of Kubernetes and maybe different industries getting more comfortable with leveraging it as a platform?
Sure. A lot of companies see IT as a cost center, and so if you can make it easier or possible to do operations with fewer people in the loop, that makes a cost benefit for a lot of people. But also you need to keep people in the loop. You need to keep the people that you have included and be transparent about what infrastructure choices and changes you're making. So that's one of the things that GitOps really helps with.
That transparency is key. One more question for you. Can you share a little bit before we wrap here about the project roadmap and some of the things that are coming down the pike?
Yeah, so I mentioned graduation. That's the immediate goal that we're working towards most directly. We have grown our number of integrations pretty significantly. We have an Operator Hub entry in Red Hat OpenShift. There's an Operator Hub where you can go and click to install Flux, and that's great. And we looked forward to making Flux more compatible with more of the tools that you find in the CNCF umbrella. That's what our roadmap is focused on right now.
Increasing that compatibility. And one more time, mention the event, October 20th, I believe you said.
Yep.
Let folks know where they can go and find it on the web.
Yeah, if you're interested in it's GitOpsDays.com. It's the GitOps one-stop shop, and it's vendors like AWS, Microsoft, and VMware, D2iQ, and Weaveworks have all built Flux-based solutions that are available for sale right now. So if you're trying to use GitOps and you have one of these vendors as your cloud vendor, it seems like a natural fit to try the solution that's out of the box. But if you need convincing, GitOpsDays.com, you can go find out more about the event, and we'll hope to see you there.
GitOpsDays.com. Kingdon, thank you for joining Dave and me on the program, talking to us about Flux. Congratulations on its evolution. We look forward to hearing more great things as the years unfold.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Our pleasure. For Dave Nicholson, I'm Lisa Martin. You're watching theCUBE live from Los Angeles at KubeCon CloudNativeCon 21. Stick around, Dave and I will be right back with our next guest.